Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and of course to the LGBT community. Welcome to the show where you can learn from the beautiful chaos of Region 8. This is Online Talktilaok Show. Please welcome our chickading hosts, Miss Paula Cactus, Miss Christy Chicks, and Mr. Topepelaok.
Talktilaok, mga katilaok. I am Paula Cactus. It is nice to sit with you all, especially that I am surrounded by gorgeous, handsome, and ravishing co-hosts.
Definitely, Miss Cactus. Indeed, this is a special day as we travel from the Pacific of Region 8. So, find a seat and make yourself comfortable. By the way, I am Topepelaok.
Good day mga katilaok, I am Christy Chicks, giving you a day to learn and explore the magnificent story of Balangiga Massacre. It is one of the greatest historical achievements that has been acknowledged by Filipinos and of course, in a worldwide history.
Yes, that is why we will bring the story to our dear Katilaok today. But of course, we have a special guest in this show. We've invited Filipino and American journalists.
And of course, we will be listening in the both sides as we dig deep in this story.
Yes, I am extremely excited. How about you guys? So, without any further ado, let's meet our guest, starting from our Filipino journalist. Please all welcome Ms. Ricock, followed by Ms. Fanica and Ms. Antoktok.
And of course, this show will not be satisfied without the presence of our American journalists. They traveled 1,000,000 miles just to visit us here in our show. So let us now meet them to answer the questions regarding the Balangiga Massacre. Starting with Mr. Janok. Next will be, we have Mr. Tajogok. Lastly, we have Mr. Glogok. And now let us give them a big round of applause.
The mechanics of this segment is we will give a specific question to our journalists. So that is will regards the happenings inside the Balangiga Massacre. So are you ready, journalists?
Well, you have no choice neither. Kidding aside, I just want you to relax and just enjoy the show. So, the first question is for the Filipino journalists. Okay, so first off, where exactly is Balangiga located and what happened to this municipality during the American period?
Okay, so I will answer the question. Thank you for the rooster-defying Talktilaoking question, Miss Cactus. You know what? I really want to educate and share this history with you all since young Filipinos nowadays oftentimes forget most of the history of their motherland and are now somewhat being consumed by westernized culture and standards. We did not realize how beautiful, yet at the same time, drastic all our ancestors has gone through to make this freedom we are acquiring right now become into reality. So, let me talk to you a little bit about the Philippines during the American period. It was on December 10, 1898, where the Spanish colonization ended, but was immediately taken control by Americans. This is where the Philippine-American War started and lasted from February 4, 1899 to July 2, 1902. One of the historic battles between Filipinos and Americans was from Balangiga Summer, which occurs on September 28, 1901. Balangiga is a municipality in eastern Samar, which is said to be one of the main producers of abaca, where Samarno mainly depends for their living. Moreover, it is also said to be financing the Philippine forces of the island and is actually essential for both United States Navy and American agro-industries such as cotton. In August 11, 1901, it is said that a Company C of the 9th U.S. Infantry were sent to Samar with a total of 74 American troops landed in Balangiga under the provision of Captain Thomas W. Connell.
So how and why did this massacre begin?
So, the residents of Balangiga Town and Company C, the 9th U.S. Infantry Regiment, had a good relationship. The friendly activities include tobacco drinking among soldiers and native males, baseball games, and earnest demonstration in the town plaza. According to historians, relations went downhill after two American soldiers allegedly tried to molest a Filipino woman tending a store. Without in mind, the main purpose of the American forces is to close its port and prevent supplies reaching Filipino guerrillas in the interior. When locals came to the women's defense, the soldiers wanted revenge. Since then, people in Balangiga were subjected to forced labor and detention, with only little food and water. Herein, a tension aroused between the people of Balangiga and became angry and insulted, where in fact the Americans are just a foreigner in their place. So here the men planned how to retaliate for what the Americans did to the 80 men they imprisoned.
Okay, this is making me even intense mga katilaok. Because I could feel the anger of the Filipinos na not to mention. So what did Samarnon do next?
Okay, so before I proceed to narrate the following events, I want to introduce myself first. Hello there mga katilaok. I am Fanica, one of the Filipino journalists who seek to know the truth about the Balangiga Massacre, and I am here to continue the story. Okay, so after the occurrences regarding to the 80 civilians, Samarnons were left to their own devices to plan their course of action against the Americans. So this action takes place due to the anger and insult the American has treated their co-townsmen. A few days before the attack, Valeriano Abanador, the town's police chief, and Captain Daza met to plan the attack on the American unit. The plan was set on their town's fiesta, which incidentally also served to address Connell's preparation for his superior's visit. Abanador also brought tax evaders to bolster their numbers. Much palm wine was brought in to ensure that the American soldiers would be drunk the day after the fiesta. Hours before the attack, women and children were sent away to safety. To mask the disappearance of women from the dawn service of the church, 34 men from Barrio Lawaan cross-dressed as women worshippers. These women, carrying small coffins, were challenged by Sergeant Scherer of the sentry post about the town's plaza near the church. Opening one of the coffins with his bayonet, he saw a dead child who he was told was a victim of cholera epidemic. Abashed, he let the women pass on. Unknowingly, the other coffins hid the bolos and other weapons of the attackers.
Wow, such a very creative and strategic plan. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for being tiktalaoking mga katiktik. I am just in pure bliss on how they managed to plan this strategy with the strict regulations of American on that time. Indeed, Filipino are much stronger when they are united. So, okay? Continue, Miss Fanica.
Okay, thank you, Miss Chicks. So the action takes place between 6:20 and 6:45 in the morning of September 28, 1901. Abanador, who had been supervising in the town plaza, grabbed the rifle of Private Adolf Gamlin, one of the American sentries, and stunned him with a blow to the head. This served as a signal for the rest of the communal laborers in the plaza to rush the other sentries and soldiers of Company C who were mostly having breakfast in their mess area. Abanador then gave a shout, signaling the other Philippine men to the attack and fired Gumlin's rifle at the mess tent, hitting one of the soldiers. The pealing of the church and the sounds from conch shells being blown followed seconds later. Some of the Company C troopers were attacked and hacked to death before they could even grab a rifle, and few who survived the initial onslaught fought among bare-handed, using only kitchen utensils such as stick knives and fork, and even chairs. One private used a baseball bat to fend off the attackers before being overwhelmed. The attackers initially occupied the parish house and the municipal hall. However, the attack at the mess tents and the barracks failed, with Private Gumlin recovering consciousness and managing secure another rifle caused considerable casualties among the Philippine forces. With the surprise wearing off and the attack degrading, Abanador called the attackers to break off and retreat. The surviving company troops, led by Sergeant Frank Betron, escaped by sea to Basay and Tanawan Leyte. The townspeople buried their dead and abandoned the town. Of the 74 men in Company C, it is said that 36 were killed in action, including Captain Thomas W. Connell, First Lieutenant Edward A. Bumpus, and Major Richard S. Griswold. 22 were wounded in action and 4 were missing in action. 8 died later of wounds received in combat, and only 4 were escaped unscattered. The villagers captured about 100 rifles and 25,000 rounds of ammunition and suffered 22 deaths and 22 wounded.
So I have another question regarding with the opinion of Filipino version that in this event it is considered to be a massacre.
Actually, no. That attack serves as a courageous uprising against the cruel foreign oppressor. For us Filipinos, the bells are symbol for the long, hard struggle for independence. The real massacre happened here will be illustrated by our next journalist.
Thank you, Miss Panica. So, Miss Antoktok, here's my question. If the bells are the symbol for long and hard for independence, then why is that the Balangiga bells was in the hand of Americans?
Thank you for asking that wonderful question, Mr. Topepelaok. So I will start first from where Miss Fanica has ended her story. After the victory of Samar, the Americans was insulted because of the surprise attack that they didn't even know. So they tend to go back, and General Jacob Smith led the charge in Samar, and he gave the following instructions. I want no prisoners. I wish you kill and burn. The more you kill and burn, the better you please me. I want all persons killed who are capable of bearing arms in actual hostilities against the United States, and also Smith asked his men to turn summer into a howling wilderness. Over the next year, the U.S. Army practiced a scorched earth policy in summer, so they trudged through dangerous jungles, burning towns, taking food, and either killing people or taking them to coastal villages for internment. Over 24,000 of Filipinos, mostly non-combatants, were killed during the summer campaign. It became the most gruesome campaign of the entire Philippines-American War. Before leaving the island, the American troops visited Balangiga, where it all began, and they took the church bell signal the attacking that day, where it symbolizes their defeat from the people of Samar, and sent it back to the United States as war trophies. So, to sum it up, the real massacre happened during the burning of town by U.S. forces following the attack and retaliatory acts during the march across summer. It was said that almost 50,000 locals were killed by this massacre. Hence, the Balangiga bell serves as a commemoration to the sacrifices of our beloved forefathers.
Wow, I am beyond speechless. My tilak didn't function for a while. That is very intense and indeed a historical battle. But I have question for all of you journalists. What is the difference between two versions of the story, and what changes did occur in the perception of Americans to this massacre? Can hear some tilaok from the American journalist.
Thank you for that, Mr. Topepelaok. As much as I want to know to combat with every details to the Filipino journalists, I want to stay silent and wait for this very moment to make a tilaok on our side. So the very reason why we claim the Balangiga bells is to commemorate the events for us Americans on how the Philippines attacked us dumbfoundedly. These bells serve us our revival and our dignity. The Americans didn't actually kill the locals. They want their revenge by burning the houses, but unfortunately, the houses were filled with people and death happened.
Yes, and I just want to correct the information given by Miss Ricock about the imprisonment occurring on the 80 men. Captain O'Connell just want to set out to clean the Balangiga because his supervisors is gonna visit the municipality. But because of the complaint from the local president, who could not get the people to volunteer, some 100 men were forced to work under guard. A short time later, the town president and the chief of police suggested that natives in the hills were supposed to work out their taxes and could be assembled in town to assist in the work. Around 80 natives were brought in, and these were later determined to be guerrilla forces, and since they are part of guerrilla, punishment must be served.
Immediately returned to the Balangiga at noon of the same day. Afterwards, they drove back the insurgents without difficulty. They found the barracks on the fire. Consuming bodies of the American soldiers, Captain Bookmiller buried the bodies of some soldiers, burned the town, and returned to the base. The company seized crew were 36 killed during the massacre, 8 wounded and died later. 22 wounded, 4 missing, and 4 not wounded. However, a total of 250 Filipinos had been killed on the massacre.
To sum it all up, the Balangiga Massacre depicts the sudden attack made by the Balangiga locals, where American crew lost of its many lives, and we call it the worst single defeat. We claim the Balangiga bells to honor the American veterans who died in conflict. The Balangiga attack is dastardly, cowardly, carried out by the naive and kindly Americans doing pacification work in the Philippines. And for the US military, they are the spoils of war, compensation for the loss of life on that terrible day.
Okay. I just felt the tension right there, American journalist. Please be all calm down.
So, for the very last question, where are the Balangiga bells as of the moment?
As of now, the two bells were officially brought back to the Balangiga, but the other one was still in the US Navy in South Korea.
So, what was the reason why Americans finally decided to bring back the bells to the Philippines?
Actually, there are some possible reasons why Americans decided because of Wyoming.
At first, we were hesitant to return back these bells for they symbolize our trophies. But then in Wyoming, where the bells has been previously located and been ignored for decades, sitting in a warehouse unnoticed. In addition, Mr. Wright, one of the military retirees, said that he returned many bells in a different conflicts. He said that by returning the bells of Balangiga to our ally and our friends, the Philippines, we pick up our generation responsibility to deepen the respect between our people. Moreover, he added church bells belong to churches and calling the faithful to worship. They don't commemorate military deeds. So to end it all up, by returning the bells signify that Americans and Filipinos closing its dark past and putting painful memories aside. By returning the bells, everyone is a winner. Thank you.
Yes, we have heard it from all of you journalists. Now that we have learned something on both different versions, so I want you to reflect and be the judge of your own, mga katilao.
Yes, we know that it is very confusing for us to absorb the Balangiga Massacre story because we've heard about the two versions, which are the American and the Filipino versions. But we are just here for you to inform and to deliver a reliable, accurate, and the natural setting about the circumstances, and it is on you to trust with. Above all, it is a beautiful chaos.
That's right, Miss Cactus. But always remember that there's always a three sides of the story. Your perception, their perception, and the truth. This is how we perceive the reality, mga katila.
As we end this segment, once again, I am Topepelaok.
Again, everyone, I am Paula Cactus.
And Christy Chicks.
Thank you for joining us on our online Talktilaok show.